Watch and burn.
Hey everybody. So today, I am going to be discussing Lucifer Valentine's, I believe, 2012 documentary, and that is Black Metal Veins. Now, it's very apparent that Lucifer Valentine has seen at least Julian Donkey Boy by Harmony Korine, because he is aping that movie so hard throughout the course of this, even though the subjects in this movie, or in this documentary, of course, are real, whereas the characters in Julian Donkey Boy were invented by Korine. I still get a very big time, like, Julian Donkey Boy, or even sort of low-key Gummo vibes from this. Now, first off, Lucifer Valentine is kind of a scumbag. There's a history of a number of sexual misconduct accusations made, as well as one of the more nefarious things that I heard he was responsible for was he had fostered some kid. She was like 13 or 14. She had an eating disorder, and he fostered said eating disorder and increased it and made it worse, and like kept his eye on her and made sure that she kept deteriorating until she hit 18, and then he made a movie about her throwing her life away because of her anorexia or bulimia or whatever it was. And he tries to present the documentary, can't remember the name of the documentary, of course, but like it's just about her falling apart on her own, when the truth of the matter was he was the one that was sort of pushing her eating disorder this whole time so that she would explode on camera once it was legal for him to film her. So Lucifer Valentine's a piece of work, and for anybody that doesn't know him, he's the guy that did the Vomit trilogy, like the Slaughtered Vomit Dolls and those two other pieces of shit movies that anybody could make. They're like total student films. You could make them at home yourself. But what I liked about this was the people in this. I felt like, oh my God, the torturous existence that they lead. The main focus on here, for me at least, or I think most people remember the chick, her name was Raven. And at first, Raven looks pretty good. She kind of looks a little 90-ish, actually. She looks very 90s. And except she looks healthy. Like, she's got some weight on her, everything. She looks more or less normal, even though she is shooting heroin on the regular. She lets it be known at the start of the film that she blows through her boyfriend's like $2,000 that he had saved in a couple days on heroin. And now she's like completely out of control. Another character that springs to mind is Autumn Misery. And when she's like trying to keep the drugs down, when she's drug sick, so she's throwing up at this one point in a bathroom, wherever she is in someone's apartment, and she's discussing this thing with this old dude, how she knows this old guy who's trying to fuck all these younger girls, and he'll give them drugs, and then they'll just like cook for him or something because they don't want to have sex. Except then he brings Autumn Misery in, and he teaches her she teaches him how to like pimp these girls correctly. Like, if you want drugs, you're gonna have to perform this sex act on them. And she's like instructing this girl how to do this in the room while she's instructing this older dude who's apparently had some important job in the world or some shit, according to Autumn Misery. And so she's saying like, no, you don't let these fucking broads walk all over you. If you don't force them, like you don't say I'm holding these drugs back unless you explicitly perform this sex act on me, they're not going to. And she's saying this shit in front of this one chick, and it's just so vile. Because again, as she's recounting her pimp training of this old dude, she's vomiting in a toilet. And of course, it's all real. And of course, you see Autumn Misery naked, like in 2 seconds. And you see Raven naked in like 2 seconds. Because Raven's boyfriend's like, we haven't had sex in a while. Raven just strips down, is like, let's go fuck. And she's completely nude. Because these people, they don't really give a fuck about much. The only thing they care about, like, are drugs. And this documentary is gritty. It's disgusting. It feels real. It's honest. God damn, the toenails and the teeth missing. The stories of the one guy whose name I can't remember now, his mom, talking about how her father would train one of his buddies, I think it was, to sexually abuse her and her sister in front of him. Like, he would instructing the dude how to abuse them better. And the mom, she contracted Legionnaire's disease. Legionnaire's disease is terrifying. It's just from drinking contaminated water, so it could happen to anybody at any time. And she's recounting how it was her diagnosis of Legionnaire's disease that led to her son's a crippling addiction to drugs. Because of the painkillers that she was on, she caught him lifting them off of her from time to time, and that's what started his addiction issues. So she low-key blames herself. And then you toss in all the sexual trauma that she had to deal with from the time that she was a kid, and the fact that she has Legionnaire's disease. I mean, that is a lot of weight for a parent to carry around. And that sort of accurately sums up this entire film, is just the weight that these people carry around. Their lives are falling apart in front of us, and they don't care because the only thing they give a fuck about is drugs. And so it cuts to 6 months later, and Raven has lost an obscene amount of weight. And she has all these little, like, at first what I categorized as sores, like she was picking at her skin. But then she tells us what it actually was their parasites eating their way from the inside out of her, because she used a dirty needle with somebody and the germ got inside of her and it created these parasites that are eating her from the inside out. So again, if you're kind of squeamish and this sort of thing bothers you, I would steer clear of this documentary, because this is a Lucifer Valentine production and his shit is gritty and gross. And in a lot of ways, skeezy and unforgivable and sleazy, and he's an asshole. But, oh my God, the parasites coming through her face and how much weight she's lost. When you see the skin around her nipples, because again, you see her naked, it's like all like saggy and hanging off because she didn't lose the weight correctly. She lost the weight at an accelerated rate due to her increased drug use. And so she has all this excess skin hanging off of her, and it's disgusting. And at one point, Raven points out that her mom took her kids from her because she thought she couldn't raise them. And then Raven says, well, after my mom took my kids from me, there was no reason not to fuck up after then. So she just dove deeper into drugs. And it's unbelievable. Now, the end of the movie, if the movie ends, with Raven dying, even though it was clearly faked. Valentine talks about it on the commentary part of the extras from the DVD, and it looks faked. And I wish they hadn't have faked the end, because it sort of takes away from the authenticity of all of this. This, for me, is Lucifer Valentine's best work. It's his most honest work. These people can't really be manipulated by a piece of shit like him. These people are excellent manipulators themselves, so they're not going to allow themselves to sort of be taken in by a guy like Valentine, but they would allow him to film them. This movie's gross. Raven looks like the 90s. I've watched it like dozens of times over the years, so it's totally worthwhile, but it is disgusting, sad, tragic, and completely disheartening, and the end is dumb. But I think that's where I'm going to leave it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for just about 7.5 minutes while I discuss Lucifer Valentine's 2012 documentary, Black Metal Veins. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to go out and do something nice for somebody. But please, most importantly, never forget that the world kicks so much more ass because you're in it. I'm getting out of here because I'm starting to get cold. Have a good night.